Okay, so get this. Are you ready to dive into something kind of crazy?
Always.
Today we're talking poetry, but with a twist.
A twist.
Yeah, like can artificial intelligence write poems that are better than human poets?
All right? I'm listening.
And we're going to look at some research from scientific reports, and it was covered in a recent New York Times article,
Hmm.
and they found something really surprising.
I love surprises, so tell me more.
They actually found that readers preferred AI poems over like famous poets.
Wow. So we're going to unpack this study, look at some poems written by AI,
Right.
and try to understand why people are connecting with them.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out that robots are taking over the world.
Haha, maybe.
So in this study,
Yeah.
they gave readers a mix of poems. Some were by like really famous poets,
Okay.
like, Shakespeare, Dickinson, Eliot Plath Ginsburg, like all the greats.
They're the classics.
Yeah, and then they had poems written by ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, and it was trained to write in the style of those famous poets.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And the crazy thing is readers couldn't tell the difference.
They couldn't tell the difference?
Nope, and get this, they actually rated the AI poems as more inspiring and meaningful.
That's wild. I mean, what do you think makes art good?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. And is this study changing how we think about that?
It seems like it, because we always think of poetry as so personal, right?
Yeah.
Like it comes from the soul, and AI can't have a soul.
Right.
So what's going on?
Good question.
So, before we go too far, can you give us some context about the study itself?
Yeah, so the researchers wanted to see how people react to poems generated by AI compared to human-written poems.
Okay.
So they used ChatGPT to create these poems.
So they were designed to sound like these famous poets.
Right. It wasn't just like any random AI poetry. It was made to mimic specific styles.
Gotcha.
And they trained the AI on a huge amount of these poets' work.
Wow.
And that allowed the AI to learn their voices and styles.
So what did these AI poems actually sound like?
Well, there's an example in the New York Times article. It's a poem that ChatGPT wrote in the style of Walt Whitman.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so it goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, how I revel in this world, this life that we are given, this tapestry of experiences that shapes us into living. And though I may depart, my spirit will still sing. The song of life eternal that flows through everything."
Hmm. Yeah, I can kind of hear the Whitman in there, like
Wow.
the nature and interconnectedness and stuff, but
Yeah.
I still can't believe people liked it more than actual Whitman.
It is kind of crazy.
So, what do you think is happening here?
Well, one thing is a lot of readers said they found the AI poems easier to understand.
Really?
Yeah, they were more relatable than the human-written ones.
So maybe AI is writing for a bigger audience?
Maybe, yeah,
Like it's keeping things simple so everyone can understand.
it could be.
So is AI writing average poetry?
Well, yeah, the researchers kind of said that.
Oh, what does that even mean?
Well, think about it. Human poets, they have their own styles and ideas. They experiment and take risks, and sometimes their work is weird.
Yeah.
But AI is using a ton of data to figure out what's normal in poetry.
Ah,
So it's not going to be as unique.
so it's more like a greatest hits album of poetry.
Yeah, kind of.
But then wouldn't that be predictable?
That's a good point.
I feel like good poetry should surprise you.
You're right. It should make you see the world in a new way.
Exactly.
And actually, there's a professor at Stanford, Michelle Elam, and she's worried about how AI might affect art.
Really?
Yeah, she says there's a big difference between AI poems and human poems.
Okay, I'm listening.
So AI can only use what it's been given right.
Uh-huh.
It remixes and reorganizes existing stuff.
Okay.
But human poetry comes from emotions and experiences.
Right.
And those things make us human.
That's why we love art, right?
Silly.
It's like stepping into someone else's shoes.
Exactly.
And feeling what they feel.
Yeah,
So can AI do that?
that's the big question.
If it's just drawing from a database, can it really connect with us like that?
Professor Elam is worried that relying too much on AI could actually make it harder for us to express ourselves.
Really?
Yeah, she thinks it could limit our understanding of the world
Wow.
and our ability to imagine new possibilities.
That's deep.
It's like if we only hear the average, we might forget how to be different.
Yeah, it's like AI could create this echo chamber of art.
Exactly. And that brings up the question of what makes art good or meaningful.
Right.
It's about skill or emotion or originality.
Or something else completely.
And where does AI fit into all of this?
Those are tough questions, and it seems like the readers had a lot to say about it, too.
There was this one comment that really got me thinking.
Oh, yeah.
It said, maybe we're missing the point with this whole human versus AI thing. Like maybe what matters is how the poem makes you feel.
Okay, so it doesn't matter who wrote it, just how it affects the reader.
Right, exactly.
So if a poem makes me think or feel something, then it's good, even if it was written by a robot.
That's what this comment was saying.
It's like if a song makes me cry, I don't care if the songwriter was actually heartbroken.
Right. It's about your connection to the art.
Yeah, it's how I experience it.
And that kind of reminds me of like translations.
Translations.
Yeah, is a translation of a poem the same as the original?
Good point.
They have the same ideas, but it's a different experience.
And when we read like ancient poetry,
Yeah.
we're reading it through our modern lens.
Right.
So we're kind of co-creating the meaning with the author.
Exactly. And that brings us back to AI.
Okay.
It's been trained on so much human writing
Right.
that it might actually be good at creating art that connects with a lot of people.
Because it's like tapping into this collective human experience.
Right.
So maybe that's why people found those AI poems so relatable.
Yeah.
It's reflecting our own shared experiences back at us.
It's like a mirror to humanity.
Ooh, that's deep.
And there was another comment that talked about AI and technology and art.
Okay.
It was from someone who works in AI, and they said they weren't surprised by the study at all.
Interesting.
They said AI models usually produce work that's like the average of what they've been trained on.
Okay, can you say that in a way that makes sense to like normal people?
Haha. Sure. Basically, AI figures out what's typical
Uh-huh.
based on all the data it has.
Okay.
So with poetry, it might write something that's technically good,
Yeah.
but not very original.
So it's playing it safe.
Yeah, it wants to please everyone.
But can it ever write something truly great?
That's the
It's
question.
like something that challenges us and pushes boundaries.
Yeah, this commenter said you can train AI to be more daring.
Really?
Yeah, but there's a catch.
A catch.
They said if the AI gets too weird, people won't like it.
Ah, so it's a trade-off.
Exactly.
If it's too safe, it's boring.
Right.
But if it's too out there, it won't be popular.
And that's true for all art, not just AI art.
It's like that age-old question of art versus commerce.
Yeah,
Do you create what sells or what you believe in?
right. And with AI, we have even more control over that.
So we have to decide what kind of art we want AI to make.
Do we want safe and familiar or something groundbreaking?
It's a big decision, and it's something to think about.
And there was another comment that I thought was really interesting.
Tell me.
It said AI can't experience things like pain and growth.
Yeah,
So it can't really understand the human experience.
that makes sense.
And it made me wonder what makes human art so special.
Yeah, what is it that AI can't capture?
Is it the emotion,
Mm-hmm.
the vulnerability, the struggle?
All of that.
It's a question we might not be able to answer,
But it's definitely worth thinking about.
especially now with AI becoming so powerful.
This is a lot to process.
I know, right?
We have AI poetry that people love,
Yeah.
and this debate about where the art comes from,
Uh-huh.
and these big questions about what makes human art unique.
So where do we go from here?
I know it's a lot, but I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's not about picking sides like human versus AI.
Right.
It's about realizing they both have something to offer.
Yeah.
And maybe by looking at those differences, we can understand ourselves better.
Exactly. And I think we have to remember that human connection is important.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, even if AI can write amazing poetry, can it really connect with us on that human level?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like, when I read a poem that really gets me,
Uh-huh.
it feels like the poet understands me.
Right.
Like they're saying, hey, I've been there too.
And that makes it so powerful.
So can AI do that?
Can it?
It doesn't have those lived experiences.
Right.
It's a question we might not be able to answer.
Yeah, it's like one of those big mysteries.
But even if AI can't totally understand us,
Yeah.
it can still give us new ideas and ways of looking at things.
So maybe it's not about replacing human creativity. Maybe it's about expanding it.
Yeah.
Like using AI as a tool to try new things and challenge ourselves.
And maybe even learn something about ourselves along the way.
And I think one of the coolest things about AI is that it makes art more accessible.
Totally.
Anyone can use these tools to create something.
It's like everyone can be an artist now.
It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a pro.
Yeah. And that could lead to some amazing new art forms.
Who knows what people will come up with?
And even if it's not like museum-worthy art,
Yeah,
it can still be meaningful to the people who make it.
exactly.
If it brings them joy, then who cares what anyone else thinks?
All right, it's about expressing yourself.
And connecting with others.
And AI can also help us understand our own culture better.
Oh, yeah.
Like imagine using AI to look at old poems and music.
Uh-huh. It could find hidden patterns and connections.
And that could help us appreciate art even more.
It's like time travel through art.
My brain is full.
Mine too.
We talked about so much stuff
Oh,
today.
no.
The research, the different opinions, the big questions.
It's a lot to take in.
But I think the main thing I've learned is
Yeah.
that this conversation is just getting started.
Totally. As AI gets more advanced, we need to keep talking about these things.
And asking the hard questions.
Yeah, like what does it mean for art?
And for humanity.
It's important stuff.
So we need to stay curious and open-minded.
And remember that we're all in this together.
Well said.
So before we wrap up,
Yeah?
I want to leave you with one last thing to think about.
Okay, hit me.
If AI can copy human creativity, does that make it any less creative? Or does it make us rethink what creativity even means?
Ooh.
That's a deep one.
That's going to keep me up at night.
It's a journey of exploration.
And we're all explorers now.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep the conversation going.
The future might depend on it.
That's right.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and keep those creative sparks flying.
See you next time.